Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this marketing introduction session to Digital Transformation Platform Strategies for Success course. We're very happy that you're interested in taking this course and look forward to sharing some of the details with you. My name is Deborah Saul and I'm here with my colleague Dimitris Karapis. I can see people are chatting in where they are from, excuse me. And so we welcome you from all over the world. It's great to have so many people with us. There are still people joining the conference, but I think we will get started right away. So let me just make a quick comment about the tool that we're using right here. If you have any, well, I'll leave you maybe to read the details on your screen. But the one piece that I do want to point out is that if you have questions, there is a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen, kind of on the Zoom control bar. We encourage you to put your questions in there rather than in the chat because it's easier for us to log them and respond to them systematically. In the chat, so much might scroll by, we might miss it. But also, if you're being distracted by the chat, you do have the option to turn it off. You know, you can just close that panel of your Zoom screen. So let's just talk about where we're going over the next hour or so. We want to give you some introduction to the faculty, and then we'll talk more about Emeritus. We'll give you some overview about the course, the contents, the kind of outline of the course. We'll talk about the learning experience, particularly online, especially if you haven't been, if you haven't studied online, if you haven't been in a virtual course like this before, some of the points there might be particularly interesting. But also if you're, you know, have some virtual experience in learning, perhaps in collaborating with colleagues, you know, some of the points might be a good reminder anyway. And then we will leave time for Q&A at the end. And so we hope that, you know, what we cover in the next short while will be valuable to you and help you make a decision about this course. So let's talk first about the faculty. The course is based on the work of Jeff Parker and Marshall Van Alstyne and Sajid Chowdhury, who have, and Marshall and Jeff particularly are, you know, have written a seminal work and studied, researched in the space of multi-sided or two-sided platforms. And so this Platform Strategies for Success course really builds very heavily on that work. It's presented by Jeff Parker. So he's currently a visiting scholar and fellow at the MIT's Institute or Initiative on the Digital Economy. He's full-time professor at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. You can also read about his other background. But as I say, he's, you know, his work on network economics and strategy is really highly regarded around the world. And we're lucky to have him as a faculty for this program. The book on which it is based is The Platform Revolution, How Networked Markets Are Transforming the Economy and How to Make Them Work for You. As I say, that's co-authored with Marshall and Sanjeet. We don't actually include that as part of the course, but you're welcome to buy it independently if you want to have it as a reference. But we'll talk more about things like that in a bit more detail later. So next, I'll introduce myself a little bit more. I'm one of the course leaders on this course, and that means that I am here with you all the time throughout the course, monitoring the discussion boards, leading the live webinars, providing answers to any questions you might have about the content particularly. You know, if the concepts or principles are not clear, that my role is to help you clarify those and provide feedback on those things. My background, I'm sort of straddle the academic and industry spaces. I started my career in computer science and math, working for a large chemical company in Europe. I spent some time in South Africa, back in South Africa, shall I say, before coming to the US, where I've been mostly in the academic world, doing a lot of research affiliated with MIT and Harvard, and now with the University of Massachusetts. I teach there in the business school. So, you know, my expertise is really sort of the, you know, right at the intersection of technology and organizations, how they use technology most optimally, and, you know, thinking about how technology possibilities change what organizations can do, how they're organized, you know, how processes should be adapted and that sort of thing. You might hear from my voice, I have an accent, I'm not American. I am South African and British, and I've worked, as I said, you know, around the world. And that's one of the reasons I like being a course leader on this course, because we do have such an international participation, and it's great to work with people from everywhere. I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague Dimitris, who's going to take you a little bit further.
Thank you very much, Deborah. I hope you can hear me very well, and probably from what you can hear, I have a Greek accent. Sorry about that, I cannot change it. So I'm a course leader as well at Emeritus for different courses, and together with Deborah, we teach digital platforms since already more than 2 years, if I'm not wrong. So that's a very interesting course, but before we start talking about that, my experience, it is much more into business and less to be in academia. So I've been working for maybe 35 years across different industries. The last 25 years as managing director or vice president or senior vice president in different sectors. Long time I've been working for Sony till 2016. Many times it was about business transformation, or the last years it was major digital transformation in Sony, in Europe initially, and later on at a global level. So it's not only about technology, it's about processes, it's mainly about people mindset. I've been building organizations many times from scratch, B2B or B2C. And as you can see, I've been moving quite a lot in practically 10 different locations the last 25 years. And right now, the last 3 years, I'm based in London. I'm a consultant, I'm a partner at a company called Digital Works Group. We are a boutique consultancy, and we help companies with their digital transformation challenges or opportunities. Many times it is about simply transforming their current business as they are in pipeline, but many times it is how they can adopt this new business model, digital platforms. So I'm also a mentor and executive coach and non-executive director. So by far more close to business, I would say, rather than a professional teacher. Now about Emeritus. Emeritus has been very, very successful the last years, focusing on online courses with content that comes from the top universities across the world. You can see much more about that if you visit the Emeritus website, and has been served more than 40,000, I would say already, students across the world. You can see the students, that practically the students are very experienced professionals, executives, entrepreneurs, not really students coming just out of the university. So very, very experienced executives and entrepreneurs that they want to keep learning about business, and especially about marketplaces and digital platforms. You can see it's quite split, something like 38% in Americas, 30% in EMEA, and another 32% in Asia Pacific, with US and India having a very strong presence, depending on the course. This is overall for Emeritus. So what's also very, very interesting, especially about this course, it is what we see is that we have participants coming from so many different industries, more or less 35 to 40 different industries, which shows as well how well it is applied everywhere and how many industries they look into digital platforms nowadays. Now, talking about Emeritus overall, not specifically about this course, you can see the way that it is designed, it is to have a very high level of completion. Here we talk about average 85%. My experience with the course is by far more than 92 or 95%. So you are committed coming to this course, you know what you're looking for, and what we can see is the great majority of students, they can get the certification at the end of the course. So there will be a lot of content, many, many videos, a lot of additional materials. There will be some guest lectures, people that they come outside of the industry, or sometimes even course leaders like me and Deborah, that we can share additional information based on our experience. We try to provide bite-sized learning. There will be a lot of discussions where you will have the chance to interact with peers across the world and across different industries, and you may have different opinions, and that makes sense. And you may even have different debates on that. Sometimes there are also simulations in some of the courses. It's not relevant for this specific course, or real-world applications. Here, I would say it will be much more business cases that you can learn a lot about that. Mobile learning applications, you will have the opportunity to see also the course in your mobile. And of course, there will be grading and evaluation helping you to learn more. And once you join the course, you are part of the Emeritus family, part of the Emeritus network. So you will be able to keep networking with people that those thousands of people actually that they joined Emeritus. That can be very important for you on top of learning about the course. And as you can see, there are different benefits over here. Now, let's talk a bit about the course, about the digital platforms. And digital platforms is not so much about technology. It's more about business. So it is about a new business model, or I would say a very old business model, maybe 4,000 years old business model, which becomes very much in fashion and very much important for the businesses nowadays because of the new digital technology. Attending the course, it should mean for you that probably you will need about 4 hours per week to see the videos. Of course, depending on how close you are with business and business platforms, you may need a bit more hours or a bit less hours to digest the content. And so we expect about 4 to 5 hours in average for you to learn and maybe to submit your assignments as well. There will be 8 modules. It will take about 2 months, and you will learn more about that later on from Deborah. Now, at the end of the course, we expect you that you will know very well about this new, not new, again, it's a very old business model, but of course, how we use this new business model in the new digital era. So you will be able to certainly distinguish what is a digital platform business model versus a pipeline business model. You will understand all the different flavors and colors of digital platforms. For example, you know there are digital platforms that they are more pure, like marketplaces, like eBay or Amazon Marketplace. There are other platforms like crowdsourcing platforms or crowdfunding platforms. There are platforms based on operating system, whether it is iOS or Android or Windows. It can be related to payment, can be related to blockchain right now and smart contracts and how companies that they compete can work together actually to become more effective and more efficient going forward. There's so many different flavors, and I would say so many different applications of digital platforms. So you will learn a lot about that, and so that you can decide what is more relevant to you. Then it's very important to understand how can you compete in this area where sometimes the winner takes it all or almost all. So you can see some of them like Uber and Airbnb being really dominant, or Amazon Marketplace and eBay over there. And what it means, two-sided and multi-sided networks, what it means multi-homing or mono-homing, and how do you decide your strategy? How do you design your platform to have a lot of network effects, cross-side or same-side network effects, and how you leverage the network effects so that you grow your business quickly. You will learn how to launch digital platforms, because of course, if you are an established player and you are a destination where consumers or producers come to your site, that would be rather easy maybe to launch a digital platform on top of what you're doing. But if you are not a dominant player, or you want to start from scratch, a startup, how do you attract producers if you don't have consumers? How do you attract consumers if you don't have producers? So you will learn many different strategies how to manage that, and what can be applied better probably to, you have to reflect what is the best for your idea or your business. Then about monetization. There are many different pricing models. Do you want to get profitable quickly, or you want to grow more and go globally, even if you burn a lot of money and make money later on? Some of the platforms, very successful ones, like YouTube, took them more than 10 years to become profitable. Uber is still growing, but not being profitable. Other platforms became profitable quite quickly. So what are the different monetization strategies and pricing models that you can apply? How about governance? In platforms, what is very, very important to understand, and this is why we need a completely different mindset than running a pipeline business, is that you need to cooperate. And most of the participants, they are autonomous. So you need to govern volunteers, I would say. And sometimes part of your of the participants in platform, they are competitors. So how you can attract your competitors, how you build trust, how you go for a win-win strategy. Governance is very, very important. How you nurture this community so that everybody creates value, and this value is fairly distributed among everybody, and how you get rid of some of them, probably that they don't behave in a platform. So governance is very, very important, because nobody's in your payroll, and anybody can easily come and go in most of the platforms. So you will build your ecosystem, but you want to have an ecosystem for many, many years, not just to start with that. So we will learn a lot about interactions, transactions, and how this is by far more important. The liquidity in the platform is by far more important than how many registered participants or users you have. And of course, you will gain insights about different industries, which ones they are much more mature actually for this business model? I would say everybody today. What are the different elements that you have to consider in terms of asymmetric information, etc., to decide whether it is time for you to disrupt your industry? Or even, are you ready to cannibalize maybe part of your business so that you build something for the future? That's not easy. And if you want to do that, how you change the mindset, the culture in your business so that you can succeed. So I'm pretty sure that you will learn a lot of strategies and principles that will help you to become an expert. I believe any business person should know very well how to run digital platforms in the future, because most of the businesses, they will add on top of what they're doing a digital platform. And we see that happening with all the great brands, whether we're talking about Apple or Lego, IKEA, or anybody else. They start, or they have already adopted the digital platform business model already as part of their strategy to grow in the future. But maybe that's time actually for Deborah to join us and tell us a bit more about the course.
Thank you, Dimitris. Yes, so here we're sort of shifting from the goals and the outcomes to talk about how you're going to get there. So as we mentioned before, there are 8 modules to this course, 1 module each week. They're released progressively. So essentially, you know, you're encouraged, maybe forced to, you know, work sort of systematically through the material. It's not possible to sort of run ahead and complete it all in 2 weeks. So let me talk about the content. We start with, you know, some general information, trying to clarify the distinction between product or pipeline business models and platform business models, and introduce the very important concept of network effects, which is really thinking about the effect of the networks, the relationships between a lot of different parties on a platform. In week 2, we're introducing, you know, some big concepts that are really important for understanding how platforms function, the environment in which they work, and you know, the kind of structural aspects of that. We give more detail in week 3 about designing a platform, and we're thinking about some of the key activities that a platform needs to provide, or key capabilities, shall I say, to provide in order to help participants get onto the platform and find each other effectively, interact effectively, and create value for the platform host. We're also talking about monetization in that module. As Dimitris mentioned before, there are lots of different ways to monetize a platform, and sometimes, you know, you need to think about it's sometimes a bit of a chicken and egg situation to get participants on all sides, or at least on 2 sides of the platform on, and you know, create a draw for them at the same time as you're trying to generate revenues, and there are different ways to do that. Module 4, we talk about launching and growing the platform, and we introduce a number of different strategies for launching. And, you know, we'll encourage you to think about, you know, which of the strategies might, or which maybe combination of those strategies might be most useful or most appropriate for perhaps some situations that you might be thinking of if you have a platform business in mind. Week 5, we shift a little bit towards talking about open innovation, because as has already been mentioned, often the participants on your platform are, it's not just yourself that is innovating, but you're actually wanting to encourage the participants, especially the producer side of your platform. Those are other parties who are providing services to the consuming side. You're encouraging them to innovate as well, to fill in the needs of some of those consuming participants who might not, that might not be core to the platform, but might actually be very valuable to a subset of those consumers. That's where it's valuable when your producers, who may be your competitors, are encouraged to innovate on top of your platform. So we'll think about this concept of open innovation in Module 5. Module 6 is the topic of governance, which, as Demetrius has already highlighted, is really, really critical in a platform business model, because all the activity is between parties who are, who are independent, autonomous of you, the platform. Excuse me. I'm sorry. And so you want to be thinking about how can you, what sort of rules, norms, architecture, etc., can you put in place that will make sure that the right people get access to your or the right participants get access to your platform, and that you don't have it cluttered with people or participants who don't have any value to add. That you can ensure that everybody is getting value from being there and from transacting, interacting on that platform, and that you have a way to minimize and manage conflict when it does arise. So that's kind of the scope of governance. Module 7, we're shifting to think about strategy and competition. Perhaps as we see, a lot of product businesses are either shifting to a platform model, business model, or they're adding on a platform business to their, to what they're already doing. And that may mean that we start to see platforms of platforms, or multi-homing on different platforms and things like that. So Module 7, talk about strategy and competition. My apologies. And then finally, with Module 8, we're looking really towards the future. Let's move on. So what will be your experience? We have a lot of interactive lectures. As was mentioned earlier, the material is released in bite-sized chunks. Really, the idea is that, they're short and compact, each little lecture, so that you can absorb it in a very convenient manner. You can think about, watching your videos, perhaps on your commute, or in, when you have free time, perhaps between meetings or things like that, or in the evenings. So a lot of interactive lectures. There are 8 discussions over each, for each week. We encourage you to reflect on what you're learning and to highlight insights, highlight questions, especially, and interact with each other through the discussion boards. There are 6 assignments and 5 case studies. The case study is really, a focus on a specific company, and we try to use the example of that company to highlight principles and concepts, not necessarily to say this is the way it should be done, but to learn from a particular way that a company has approached a situation, and use their experience to clarify the concepts around that practice or that activity or that dimension of platforms. And then we also have some live webinars, and I'll talk a little bit more about those momentarily. Let's move on to just highlight those. So we will have an introductory live session right when the course gets going. We'll debrief a couple of the cases that you'll be studying. The Upwork case comes up in week 3. We'll debrief it probably in the middle of week 4. So once you've submitted your assignments, we'll have a live session to debrief that and discuss some of the components of that. The SAP case comes up in week 6, and so we'll probably debrief that around about the middle of week 7. So once you've submitted the assignment, there is a wrap-up kind of closing live session as well, where we'll try and synthesize all the learning from the course, highlight some key themes, and certainly give you some direction for future learning and for staying connected around this topic. There are also some guest sessions. Those are not listed here, but you can count on at least a couple of guests live sessions as well. Talking about the assignments next, I think. So each week, more or less each week, there is a concrete assignment where you're asked to, respond to some questions. Usually they're sort of multi-part assignments. The main purpose is to encourage you to put your new knowledge into practice. You can see some of the companies that are, in the case where there are, it is actually a written case where you're encouraged to read and then respond. As I said, with a case, it's not necessarily the best way to respond. The company's response is not necessarily a best practice. That's not the purpose of the case. The case is just a tool that we can learn about the nuances and the complexities of actually making decisions around these kinds of topics. So Intuit, we're talking a little bit about competition. Upwork, we're talking about design and monetization. The examples of Google Health and Microsoft Health Vault, where is really about launching, ways to launch a platform successfully. MakerBot focuses on the topic of open innovation, and then SAP focuses on the topic of governance. Demetrius, should I turn this over to you or should I keep going? I forget what plan we made. I'd be happy to keep going. Or
please keep going, Deborah, but we are, yes, at the end of the presentation, and we will start addressing the questions now.
Okay, yeah, see, there are a couple coming in. Okay, so yeah, so that is our role, to help address your questions, especially as relates to the content and the assignments. And we also moderate the discussion forums, and we present the live material, the live webinars, except for the guest sessions that might be provided by other guests. We will get to your Q&A questions in a moment. So moving forward, let me just highlight the environment that we use, the course, what we call the course platform. All emeritus courses, at least of this kind, are sitting on top of Canvas, which is a sort of learning management system. So sometimes you'll hear us talk about Canvas. It just means the emeritus learning platform, in which you'll find all the material for this digital transformation platform strategies course. You can see on that left panel, there's an area where you manage your account. If you're participating in multiple courses, you'll have perhaps multiple courses on your dashboard, but perhaps only one. We have a calendar so that you can keep track of all the due dates for assignments, for example, any live sessions, anything that's sort of chronologically important. All of those are tracked on the calendar, as well as, in the flow of the course content. And then also built into this course platform is an emailing system. So that's that item labeled inbox. That is a mechanism where you can correspond with either us or with the program support team, and or even your peers on the course if you have questions or reason to correspond. So this is basically what it looks like. And I don't know if we have a little video there. I don't think we need to, I think the course environment itself is really quite self-explanatory. And the week 0 that is allocated is actually intended for you to have the time to explore the course platform, figure out how it works, figure out where things are. Most of the material is released under that tab that's labeled modules. So you can see under home, we've got grades. People is the menu item to get to see who's on the course, to find the profiles of all your peers, as well as all the support staff and the course leaders and sort of educational folk on the course. And then modules is where all the content is presented. So I think that's all that I'd like to say on that. Let me talk about the recommendations for taking part in an online course, because as I say, this may be new for some people. The main thing, stay up to date, because the material, it sort of seems like, oh, okay, it's going to be released in a week. But there's a lot to get through. And, if you're cramming, trying to, watch the videos in a rush, it's hard to absorb the concept. So we encourage you to, set aside the time. Each week you're given an estimate of how much time is needed. So we encourage you to really try and, build that into your schedule in a systematic way, and, focus just on this. There's really a lot of benefit to interacting with your peers and with the team. We know that there is so much experience and expertise just in the participant group, always. And if you can use this virtual experience as a way to connect with people around the world who also have an interest and domain specific expertise, it could be, the fruitful for future collaborations. And we are always here to help. We encourage you to be proactive if you have any issues in keeping up, whether it's an illness, whether it's a family related matter or work priorities, just keep us informed, because we can be, the program is intended to be flexible. We understand that people are working as well as trying to do this, and we all have a lot of different obligations. And as I said, I think before, we encourage you to put all the frameworks and lessons into practice, because that's how you will consolidate your learning and really go off with this, a stronger base to apply it for real. Next, okay, the details, the nitty-gritty of the costs. You can see there, 1,500, and there are a couple of different payment installment opportunities. So if that's helpful to you, we encourage you to take advantage of that. We're starting in just over a week, really. So is that right? Just a week, exactly a week. And so you've got a couple of days to think about this still, but if you'd like to be part of this and join us, we encourage you to make your, wrap up and make your application final right away. And then this is what you will take away with you if you complete the course. You will get an electronic certificate verified by a third party that is issued jointly by MIT and by Emeritus. You can also get a hard copy if you want it, but a lot of people, just like to put their digital certificates on their electronic profiles like LinkedIn and such like. So as I want to emphasize that it's jointly issued by Emeritus and MIT, and that's a great accomplishment if you can make it through the course. And now, time for your questions. I see a few have come in. I think Demetrius is going to join me, and we'll try and get to these. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. And yes, we have questions. What I would like to emphasize over there is, if you need to get the certificate at the end of the course, you need to put a lot of work during the 8 or 10 weeks of this course. So that's important. Of course, if you are very close to business, might be very, very easy. If the talking about strategies and all those things are new, because we have people with many different backgrounds, it might take longer. Maybe you might need to see a video twice or 3 times to understand and digest all the different information. So if it is more for learning, you will have access anyway in this content for 1 year. So no problem. Of course, we prefer that you get engaged at the very, very beginning so that you can also be part of the discussions and the assignments and all those things. So it's not just content, but you can interact as well and you can submit your assignments. If you don't care about the certificate and you don't have a lot of time, you don't have to get so much stressful. You will have access to the content for many, many months. So this is quite important. But if you really want to get the certificate, you need to put some effort as well over there. It's not difficult, but it's not so easy either. So let's see the questions now. 10 questions, excellent. One is coming from Valid, right? The first one, are you going to provide hands-on regarding how to apply these strategies on our own cases? That would be great, but I'm afraid this is not really possible, because I understand what you say, your own case, you probably mean your idea, what you want to do, right? If my understanding is correct, we will not have the possibility to analyze what's going on in your market and your potential business and give consulting work practically on this. That would be possible. Otherwise, I would say for the business cases, you will have a grading, and that should help you as well to see how things are going.
Yeah. There's a question from Anthony asking about the mechanisms and dynamics of discussions. There are a lot of people on the course typically, and we divide the participants into sections so that you have a slightly smaller group for the discussions. And we encourage you to build on other people's discussions. You know, often it's easy to just, you know, post a comment yourself, but we encourage you to read, you know, what's there already, and add to the thread of somebody else's comment rather than just post a new one.
Yes. So also to manage expectations, there's no real facilitation. There are questions where we ask you actually to reflect and share information or share your thoughts. And sometimes there is more interaction, and sometimes people simply sharing their thoughts. Honestly, just going through 100 different comments that you might see over there, it is already quite a lot of interesting information, where you can see people sharing information from different perspectives, different industries, different countries. But there is no real facilitation on a specific case where everybody keeps talking about that. Our role as course leaders, it is to moderate what is going on, and if needed, usually it's not needed, to step in as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you know, our position is that there's a lot of valuable expertise already in the peer learning group. So it's not our position to say this is the way it should be thought of, this is the way you should think about things, but really to you know, leave that open. We, as Dimitris said, only if there's some issue, then we would you know, chime in.
Yes.
I want to build on Wakid's. Sorry, are we done with that one, Dimitris? We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question from Wakid is asking for elaboration on the 80 interactive sessions. So these are, I think it's not interactive, it's 80 lectures. And they, as I said, the lectures are all recordings, video recordings from Prof. Parker. And those you can watch at your own time, at your own convenience. Most of them are less than 10 minutes. Some are substantially shorter than that. But, you know, so you can estimate their, you know, a couple of 10, 15 lectures each module, each week. So you would work through those video lectures and then shift your attention to the assignments and to the more interactive stuff like the discussions.
Yes, interactivity, it is much more, there will be some questions during the video where we ask you to answer the questions, and this is the interactivity of those sessions. Otherwise, they are videos, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking, Walid. Yeah. Anthony, what's the process to review and qualify the assignments? For example, assignments, feedback, and discussion. There is a professional grading team that works on the assignments, and they provide, they grade actually the assignments. If there are, there is also, if there are any questions, you can always go back and ask more about that, or you can ask also the course leaders in case you have any questions related to the assignments. Usually, in terms of timings, you have about 1 or 2 weeks to submit the assignment, and takes another 1 or 2 weeks to receive the grading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rajesh has a question about whether the course considers B2B businesses as well as B2C. Yes, these are both, these are, you know, certainly there are platform business opportunities in both domains, and we will discuss both business to business and business to consumer settings.
Yes, as you can see, some of them like SAP, they are mainly B2B. So I would say, yes, it is split in both B2C and B2B. Is there a real project which will be done by ourselves? Not really. You will be working on the business cases, actually. I don't know what you mean with real project, but it is the business cases that we provide, that we ask you to reflect and share your opinion on the different questions that we raise.
So the requirement, Rath has a question about the requirements to pass the course. So typically you would need to get at least 50%, I think. It might have changed recently, but you need to get at least credit for half your assignments. And they vary, you know, the contribution of each assignment varies by week. So you can keep an eye on your actual running total as you go. And that's in order to get the certificate.
Yes, yes. Actually, you can get up to 100 points if you finish all the assignments and all the discussions. And to get the certificate, you need to reach at least 50 points, so 50% of the total, which is not difficult to achieve. And that's why we have such a high completion in this course. It's not very difficult, but it's not very easy either. So it needs some effort.
Yeah, it is some effort. Anthony's asking about the relationship between Emeritus and MIT Sloan. I understand the certification is recognized by both. Okay. So basically the material, the content of this course, excuse me, the content of this course comes from MIT. That is the work of Prof. Parker. Emeritus is primarily fulfilling the operations role, helping to deliver the course. So the course platform, the support, the delivery in over the period of the 2 months. And Dimitris, would you like to add to that?
No, actually that's what happens. There are certain requirements so that the certificate is given. That's why it's not given to everybody. People have to work on this. So they have to get certain points. And based on that, it is a certificate together by Emeritus and MIT Sloan. Any other questions? I think if you need any specific details, how you can use it in the future, I think the admission team, probably they are the best to provide that. Yeah, very important. The next one from Francisco. Will recording of the live session will be provided in case we're not available to join one? Yes, absolutely. Everything, all the live sessions will be recorded, and the presentation as well will be shared with you, usually the next day. Within 24 hours, you should be having the recording. So we know different time zones. Most of you are extremely busy. Probably you will not be able, all of you, to join the live sessions. You will be able to see it anytime at your convenience recorded.
Yeah. The next question asks whether the course is suitable for non-corporate business entities, so non-profits or humanitarian organizations. Yes, certainly. We have had a lot of non-profit participants in the past, and also have heard about a lot of non-profit platform possibilities from past participants. So I would say certainly, don't feel like you have to be in business to participate in this course. And the second question regarding, will there be a similar course in the near future? Most likely, but I don't know about the exact dates yet. It may be sometime around June, possibly. But if there is a course scheduled, it would be showing up eventually on the Emeritus website.
Yes, I would say this course is repeated every 2 months, practically. So if you cannot join this time and you want to join later on, I'm pretty sure there will be a possibility for you to join in May or in June.
Yeah, something like
that. For me, it's difficult to imagine if this course that's from ANHOA, to imagine this course will fit my company goals. Is it possible to see a business case so I can get a feeling of the fit? I think the admission team can talk about that, but practically also to try to give you some information. Depends, of course, what your company is doing. It is very much about communities. It's very much about marketplaces. And sometimes we cannot even foresee. I have seen many companies that for 2 or 3 years, they could not imagine that could be relevant to them till they saw one of their competitors doing that, and then they woke up. Now, whether some of those business cases can be shared with you, I would like to ask the program team and admission team to see whether they could share something with you to reflect and decide about that.
Yeah. There's a question from Jan about the assignments and coursework review. Assignments are reviewed by humans. They're not reviewed by bots. And you will get some feedback, but not a great deal of feedback. There are a lot of participants typically. So in general, you will have some feedback to the extent that we always provide a rubric for the assignments. So the rubric gives you a guide about how to answer, what sort of responses we're looking for. And, based on your score, you can understand, oh, I perhaps, did complete this, or I did provide this sort of response, but I didn't elaborate in that area, for example. So you do have some feedback from the score and from the rubric. If you do need, or if you want additional clarification about your assignment, it's possible that we can respond to that. But to clarify, there are humans involved, no bots at this point.
Yeah, there are humans, but it is a structured feedback. It's not a personalized feedback. Again, to manage expectations in that case. Will the course include pillars of digital transformation and frameworks to transform businesses? That would need, honestly, more months, because digital transformation, it can have different kind of flavors. Sometimes it's about digitalization, how you can use the digital technology to make your company more effective and more efficient. Sometimes it's about digital marketing, how you engage customers with you for your current business. Sometimes it's about considering different business models, like in this case, in digital platforms. So if you are interested about covering more than this course, probably you will need a longer course, like the postgraduate diploma that is offered also by Emeritus. That's about 9 months, covers a lot of things like digital strategies and digital marketing and digital platforms, and that could give you more information than only the business model of digital platforms and the related digital transformation that you need.
Yeah. I'd like to pick up Anthony's question, which sort of follows from that. He's asking, is there discussion of newer technologies such as blockchain, AI, etc., that would shift the model? So not specifically in this course, because we're really trying to detail out the strategy and implementation of platform business models. But yes, certainly those capabilities may have an influence on, so changing the competitive dynamic in your industry that may force you to shift to more of a platform role. There are other emeritus courses that do focus on these topics of blockchain, AI. In fact, there's an emeritus course that is partnered with MIT professors specifically on blockchain, AI, Internet of Things, and cybersecurity. So if that's, if you want to deepen your knowledge in that area, I encourage you to look at that course in addition to this one.
See another one from Altaf, examples of job roles that one can get into completion of the course. First of all, by completing the course does not mean necessarily that you know all the principles, but it does not mean necessarily you are an expert in digital platforms. You need to be a practitioner, so you have to put it in reality. The great majority of people who join this course have already either a business role in a company where they think about utilizing the content and principles and strategies that they learn to launch a platform sooner or later in their company. Many people also that they join this course, they are entrepreneurs that either they started a digital platform business or they are about to launch one, and they want to learn more about it. Usually I wouldn't say that this is a course where you get a certificate and with this certificate you can find a job. However, depending on what you do, whether you are in healthcare or in legal or whatever, having this certificate, it means that you understand very well what is going on digital platforms, and maybe a company in your country, on your area, might need somebody to work with, either on consultancy base or, I don't know, as an employee for digital platform. I wouldn't call it a job role by finishing this course. You will not be the digital marketing manager, I don't know, afterwards finishing this course. I don't know if that helps, but it is an additional business model, that business knowledge that practically everybody needs for the new digital era. I cannot imagine business people not knowing about digital platforms. It's already there. It's a mainstream. It's not something new.
Right. I agree. Question from Marco, who asks about additional material apart from the online video content. And are there any exams or evaluation? So there are no exams. The evaluation is based on the assignments, and that is sort of a progressive each week. That you're accruing credit towards that certification from the assignments. We certainly do provide additional resources, links to topics of interest, and we also have online groups, a LinkedIn group where we try to keep ourselves, at least, let me say, alumni of this course participate there and share and communicate topical platform business related material that they come across. So, by becoming part of the course, you become part of the Emeritus alumni community, and then there are these additional resources that will be available to you at, subsequently. So I hope that gets at your question. That is the last one that I see. And I know we're just over time, I think. I don't know if we have any other questions waiting. Check this chat.
Would this course count toward higher grade studies or programs by emeritus, for example, longer postgraduate certifications? Yes, based on my experience, because I had the chance to teach actually the postgraduate. If you finish this course, you don't have to go through the same assignments during the postgraduate. So although it takes 9 months, you can skip the 3 months related to digital platforms. Of course, at the very end, the big assignments might require this knowledge so that you are successful. But yes, it counts. Thank you so much for your questions. I hope it was helpful for you to understand better what it is about and whether it's important for you. If you are in business, I really believe you need to know about digital platforms. It's critical nowadays. It was not important 10 years ago. Now it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us today, and we look forward to seeing you in a week or two.
Yeah.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.